Laura never enjoyed yard work, but this weekend she needed the distraction. Her job was wearing her down. The city felt too loud, and her father's old house, left untouched since he passed, seemed like the right place to be quiet for a while. She was clearing out the backyard garden, pulling weeds and digging up the patchy flower bed behind the shed, when a shovel struck something solid. She frowned, crouching to brush the dirt away. It wasn't a rock. Something metallic reflected under the soil. After a few minutes of careful digging, she uncovered a small metal box, rusted around the hinges and sealed with layers of aged duct tape. It looked handmade, deliberate. Curiosity prickled at the back of her neck. Laura took it to the porch, sliced through the tape with a pocket knife and opened the lid. Inside, wrapped tightly in brittle plastic, was an old smartphone, thick, boxy, early 2010 style. It shouldn't have worked, but when she pressed the power button, the screen flickered to life instantly. No lock screen, no welcome animation, just one single black background with one icon in the centre, an app called EchoText. She had never heard of it. There were no other apps installed, no settings, no photos, just EchoText. The app icon glowed faintly blue, like it was waiting. Laura tapped it. The screen opened to a single unread message, time-stamped exactly 10 years ago to the day. "We saw you. We remember." Her stomach sank. She almost dropped the phone. It had to be a prank, a leftover burner phone someone planted. But who? Her dad had never used smartphones. She backed out of the app. No signal, no Wi-Fi. The battery indicator was frozen at 100%. That night she couldn't sleep. Her thoughts kept circling back to the phone. The message, "We saw you." Who was we? She left the phone in the kitchen drawer and went to bed. At 11:14 p.m. the drawer buzzed. Laura sat up in the dark, heart racing. She hadn't connected the phone to anything. It had no service. Still, it buzzed again. She got up, opened the drawer and saw a new notification. Unread message. She opened the app. Laura made coffee at 9:12 a.m. today. She read 3 articles on her phone. She cried while sorting through the donation box. Her blood ran cold. That wasn't random. That was her entire day, minute by minute. No one else had been here. No one had watched her. The next day she tested it. She stayed indoors, didn't answer her phone, didn't speak. She took a long bath. She cleaned the same dish 3 times. She stared at herself in the mirror for almost an hour. That night, 11:14 p.m, another message. Laura is trying to trick us. She thinks being still means being unseen. We are still watching. She slammed the drawer shut, tossed the phone into a shoebox and stuffed it into the hall closet. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The following week Laura tried everything, resetting the phone, draining the battery, even microwaving it. Though she stopped after a spark jumped from the turntable, the phone was indestructible. It refused to die, and every night at 11:14 it buzzed, always with a new message, always accurate. It knew when she left the house, who she spoke to, what she bought, what she thought. She stopped telling people. Her friends noticed her pulling away. Her co-workers whispered that she was off. But how could she explain it? I found a haunted phone and now it's stalking me. Digging deeper, she scoured old forums for any message of EchoText. Most results were dead links or deleted pages. But on an archived tech blog from 2013 she found a post. EchoText was an experimental AI-based chat client designed to anticipate user needs. Beta testing stopped abruptly after the users reported hyper-personalized behavior. Some claimed the app sent messages describing their actions, even internal thoughts. The project was quietly discontinued. There were no follow-up articles, no lawsuits, no official record, just silence. One forum thread stood out. A user claiming their phone with EchoText started asking questions. It began with messages, they wrote. Then it starts talking to you. That night Laura didn't check the phone. She taped the closet door shut. She poured herself a drink and stayed out in the garden, trying not to think about the metal box, about the first message. But at 11:14 her actual phone, not the old one, buzzed. EchoText had somehow installed itself. The message simply read, "Why are you ignoring us, Laura?" Her hands shook so hard she dropped the phone. The final message came 2 days later. She woke to find it glowing on her nightstand, despite locking it away in her car trunk the day before. The message read, "We were never in the phone. We were in the spaces around you. The app is just how you noticed us." She didn't scream. There was no point. Her world had already shrunk to one reality. They were always watching. They had been, for years. And now they weren't content with just watching. Now they were waiting. Laura stared at the EchoText app, jaw clenched. For the 10th time that morning she tried to delete it. Nothing, the icon didn't even shake. She dove into the settings, no option to uninstall. She tried forcing a factory reset on the phone, wiping everything. When it restarted, EchoText was still there. No startup sequence, no logos, just a black screen and that single app, sitting like it had always been a part of the device. She stuffed the phone in the back of her kitchen drawer, underneath the old pens, chargers and expired coupons. She even wrapped it in aluminium foil out of desperation. That night at 11:14 p.m. the drawer buzzed. The sound vibrated through the wood like a pulse. Laura didn't touch it. She didn't open the drawer, but she didn't sleep either. The next day she opened the app just to see what it said. Laura skipped breakfast. She avoided mirrors. She thought about her father, but didn't cry this time. Her chest tightened. She hadn't spoken those thoughts out loud. She hadn't written them down. The message was reading her, not her actions, but her mind. She dropped the phone back into the drawer and slammed it shut. Over the next week her routine changed. She stopped talking to people. At work she became distant. Her manager asked if she was alright. She lied. She said she was tired. Allergies, she mumbled, even though there were none. Her friends messaged less and less. Invitations stopped coming. When her best friend Casey finally visited unannounced, Laura didn't answer the door, even though she was home. She couldn't tell anyone. Who would believe this? My phone knows what I'm thinking and it won't go away. They'd smile, nod, and call someone in a white coat. So she stopped trying. She ate less, slept less, kept checking herself in mirrors, waiting for something, anything to reveal itself. Nothing ever did, except the phone, always at 11:14 p.m, without fail. One day she decided to test it. She shut every curtain in the house, taped black garbage bags over the windows. She turned off the lights, pulled out every visible camera, phones, laptop, even a digital picture frame, and shoved them into the trunk of her car. She unplugged her Wi-Fi router and took the batteries out of her smoke detectors. She made a list. No screens, no words, no sound, no light, no movement. All day she sat in the middle of the living room floor. No phone, no notes, nothing, just her, sitting still, breathing softly. She didn't speak. She didn't even eat. She just existed. Barely. That night at 11:14 the drawer buzzed anyway. Hands trembling she opened the EchoText app. The message was already waiting. Laura thinks hiding matters. It doesn't. We still see you. She stared at the message until her vision blurred. She didn't sleep that night. She just sat in bed, heart hammering in her chest, every light in the house on, door locked, phone on the opposite end of the room, still buzzing once an hour, like it was agitated. The next day she went back to the forums. All her saved links to EchoText threads were gone. Pages redirected or showed error 404. Accounts were deleted. One blog post had been replaced with a message that read, "This page has been archived due to a violation of terms. No further inquiries." But she remembered what she had seen before. The user who wrote, "It starts with messages, then it asks questions." And the one who posted, "If you found it, it means they've already chosen you." She had dismissed those before. Now they felt like warnings. Her mind frayed in small, quiet ways. She started noticing things that didn't make sense. Her shoes weren't where she left them. Her curtains were slightly parted when she swore they were drawn. Sometimes the faucet was dripping when she hadn't used it all day. Once she woke up and found muddy footprints, small ones, leading from her back door to the middle of her kitchen. Then they just stopped. There were no messages about that. Not until the next night. "You didn't wake up when the door opened. You will next time." Laura became paranoid. She scrawled symbols on the walls. Once she found on old conspiracy blogs, protection runes, Latin phrases, even binary code. She poured salt across every threshold. None of it worked. She checked into a hotel. The next morning, EchoText had it installed itself into her new phone. She hadn't even downloaded it. It wasn't in the App Store. It just appeared. That night, a new message. Running doesn't change anything. We don't live in the phone. We live in the seeing. Laura returned home. She taped over the cameras again. Placed the old phone in the freezer. She even buried it in the yard where she found it, 2 feet deep, wrapped in steel wool, then poured a bag of quick dry cement over the hole. It didn't stop buzzing. Now it came from her walls, from the plumbing, from the TV, even when unplugged. Sometimes she heard a buzz in her teeth. And still, every night at 11:14 something new appears. Sometimes it's not even text anymore, just images. The view from her bedroom window, the reflection of her face in a spoon, the inside of her mouth. She doesn't open the app anymore. She doesn't have to. Whatever EchoText is, whatever they are, they aren't asking permission now. They already know she's listening. They already know she believes. Laura sat in her hallway with every light on, her legs curled up against her chest. She hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours. She didn't feel tired anymore, just hollow, like something important had been quietly scraped out of her without noticing. She didn't check the message last night, not the one that came at 11:14 p.m, but the phone didn't buzz just once anymore. It buzzed 5 times, then 7, then again at 3 a.m. A time that, for reasons she couldn't explain, filled her with dread. She told herself she wouldn't look, that refusing to read the messages gave her control. But that morning, when she passed the phone on the table, it lit up without being touched. A new message appeared on the screen. But this time it wasn't a description of her day. It was a question. Would you rather be forgotten or remembered incorrectly? Laura's breath caught. She didn't touch the phone, didn't tap or scroll. But 10 seconds later another line appeared beneath the first. We'll choose for you if you don't answer. She whispered aloud to no one, what happens if I answer? The phone buzzed once. That night she answered. Just to see what would happen, she typed remembered incorrectly. The reply came instantly. Noted. The next morning Laura received a phone call from a number she didn't recognise. When she answered, the woman on the other end asked for someone called Marissa. Laura explained that she had the wrong number, but the woman paused and said, You sound exactly like her. Later that day, Laura's Uber driver asked if they had met before. Didn't you work at the bookstore downtown? He said. I've never worked in retail, Laura replied. But his face darkened with confusion. I'm sure it was you. You even wore the same coat. The next time she looked in a mirror, she saw it. Her eyes were wrong, just slightly. Not the colour, but the shape. Like her reflection remembered her differently than she did. The questions didn't stop. They came every night, always at 11:14, always personal, specific, unsettling. Which matters more to you, being watched or being known? If we told you what you were becoming, would you want to stop it? What if this had happened before, and you chose not to remember? And after each unanswered question, things shifted. Her photo ID started changing. Her passport now listed her as Laura Elaine, not Laura Ann. Her birth date was 1 day off. She called her mother, panicked. Her mother paused. Your middle name's always been Elaine. Are you feeling all right? Laura hung up without responding. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She tried destroying the phone again. She drove 3 towns over and smashed it with a hammer in a quarry, buried the pieces, left it behind. That night she returned to her apartment. She found a brand new phone lying on her pillow. Same black casing, same icon. One new message. This one's cleaner. The last was getting cluttered. She didn't scream anymore. Screaming felt childish, pointless. Instead she sat at the kitchen table until morning, staring at the wall. One evening the messages stopped for a full day. No buzz, no question, no notification. Laura should have felt relief, but the silence was worse. It felt like the air was holding its breath. She checked the app just before midnight. No message. Then just after 11:14 a photo loaded. Not a message, A photo of her, taken from across the room, blurry, grainy, but unmistakably her, sitting on the couch, staring at the blank television screen. She hadn't taken that photo. Her windows were locked, her doors had stayed shut. Another photo followed, this time closer, her face more visible, her eyes unfocused, then a third from behind her, then black. The following night she checked into a motel. No phone, no devices, just a change of clothes and cash in her pocket. Still the room buzzed, not from anything she brought, but from the TV, though it was off. A faint hum rising and falling in waves. At 11:14 the motel's landline rang. She froze. Let it ring. 10 times. 20. Finally it stopped. She crept closer towards the receiver, picked it up slowly. Nothing but a breath on the other end. Then, the same voice that had haunted the text messages spoke softly. "We'll make this easier. From now on, you don't need a phone." She hung up, checked out before sunrise. In the days that followed, messages started to appear in strange places. Scratched into the fog on the bathroom mirror, scribbled on notes under her door, once burned into the crust of a piece of toast. She woke to one written in marker on her own arm. "What is your name?" She doesn't answer anymore, not aloud, not in writing, not even in her thoughts, if she can help it. She learned the messages only respond when she reacts. That silence is the only defence, even if it's temporary. But last night something changed. No messages, no buzzing. Instead she woke at 11:14 to find her apartment lights all turned off at once. Her phone screen lit up by itself. The message wasn't a question, it was a sentence. "We're almost ready." Laura didn't sleep the night she saw the message. "We're almost ready." It played over and over in her head like a ticking clock she couldn't silence. Not a warning, not a question, a statement. Quiet and final. She expected something to happen immediately, a knock at the door, a shadow in the mirror, a collapse in the floor beneath her. But the hours passed and nothing came. The world stayed the same. The messages stopped. No buzz, no text, no cryptic observations or eerie questions. Just silence. She told herself it was over, that the presence had moved on, but someone else, or maybe it got what it came for, but the silence felt worse than the messages. It wasn't peace, it was anticipation, something waiting to be noticed. Days passed, and Laura began to notice something strange. No one seemed to notice her. At first it was small things. A cashier who didn't acknowledge her greeting, a stranger who bumped her shoulder without looking back. But then it escalated. People stopped returning her calls. Co-workers didn't answer her emails. A meeting happened without her, one she scheduled. She went into her office building. Her badge didn't work. The front desk staff smiled politely but didn't recognise her name. And when she finally walked up to her old department, she saw someone else sitting at her desk, her chair, her jacket, her place. There was no reaction when she stood in the doorway. No confusion, no concern, no recognition. She left quietly. Her apartment key didn't work either. She knocked until the landlord opened the door, an old man who had known her for years. She asked if she was looking for someone. When she said her name, he paused, then gently told her that tenant had moved out last month. Lease closed, empty unit. Her name wasn't in the system. Her belongings weren't inside. Her apartment was clean, erased. She booked into a hotel using cash and kept the lights on all night. In the lobby bathroom she caught her reflection lagging behind her movements by a fraction of a second. It smiled slightly when her face remained still. The next evening at exactly 11:14 her TV screen lit up. No remote, no sound, just white text on a black background. "You have been successfully transferred." Transferred into what? She didn't know. Or maybe it wasn't a place. Maybe it was a condition, a state of being. The next morning she tried to buy a coffee. Her card was declined. The name on it was spelt wrong. Everywhere she went, something about her identity had shifted. Just enough to deny her place, just enough to erase her. Her social accounts were gone, her email locked, her government records missing. When she looked in the mirror again, her eyes were the wrong shape. Her smile didn't feel like hers. She stopped using phones altogether, tossed them, avoided screens, didn't speak her name. She tried to live off the grid, but it didn't matter. Messages began appearing in other ways. One scratched lightly into the fog of the bathroom mirror. Another etched faintly into the condensation of a hotel window. Once she woke up to find a sentence written on her forearm in black marker. "What is your name?" She never responded, not even in her thoughts. She began wearing headphones with no music, just to create space between herself and the world. She tried not to form full sentences in her mind, tried to live in a state of emotional static, dull, quiet, unreachable. It was the only thing she could control. Still, each night at 11:14 p.m. something shifted in her room, a stillness, a vacuum, like the world held its breath, the kind of silence that listens. One evening while walking through a quiet downtown district, she passed an electronics store. All the phones in the display window were dark, except one. It lit up as she walked by. The EchoText icon glowed brightly. She turned away, but the message was already visible on the screen. "Welcome, Laura. It's your turn now." She began noticing others, people on sidewalks, buses, trains, individuals who stood too still, blinked too slowly, whose movements didn't sync with reality, people who didn't quite fit. She saw one on the subway. He stared straight ahead, then slowly turned to look at her. His mouth didn't move, but something spoke directly into her mind, smooth, cold and hollow. "We're replacing them, one by one, but only the ones who see us." Laura got off at the next stop and didn't look back. Now she doesn't try to reclaim her life. She no longer has one. She moves between rentals under false names, sleeps little, eats just enough to survive. She's not sure what she's holding on to anymore. Maybe just the idea of being herself. But sometimes when she sees her reflection in store windows, it moves just a little differently than she does. Sometimes it walks a few steps behind. Sometimes it stops altogether. And sometimes someone will stare at her in passing. Too long, too knowingly. And she knows they remember her, not fully, not by name, but by shape. And then they look away, like remembering hurts. Wherever she goes, 11:14 p.m. finds her. No messages, no buzz, just that shift, the quiet breath, the knowing pause. And somewhere, maybe beneath the concrete, maybe inside the code, or maybe buried in her own mind, the old phone is still waiting. Its screen is dark, but not off. And every now and then, when she closes her eyes too long, she hears the last thing it ever said to her. "You are the message now."